Now I'm still hoping that one day, Nintendo will announce Super Mario Odyssey 2, a brand new game with a completely new journey in a similar style. Now sure, while I hope this happens, I don't really expect it to ever happen. However, we can still speculate about it, and so today we will take a look at some of the bosses that we could see in such a sequel. Well, actually, bosses that I would like to see in the game. And some of these are pretty darn good and haven't been seen in the Super Mario game yet. So, let's dive right in. Number 5. Now for our first boss, I want to talk about a potential boss that is partially inspired by the one seen in the Luncheon Kingdom. Here we fight a gigantic, goofy-looking bird known as Cockatiel. And while I did like this boss, it was missing something. The whole fight wasn't scary or too impressive. It was certainly fun, but I wanted a meaner-looking bird on the other hand. So why not add a gigantic, terrifying eagle or condor that tries to rip you to shreds? We see Klepto in the game after all, so why not include a boss that's supposed to be his dad or something? For example, he steals Cappy again, you go after him and save Cappy, and after that you celebrate. But all of a sudden, a gigantic bird appears in the background, and so the fight starts. And I kind of want it to be similar to the evil eagle from Link's Awakening, because that boss is pretty sweet. Now during the fight, this evil eagle flies back and forth across the screen at varying altitudes, potentially even hitting you. And during the second phase, it will hover to the side of the tower and either blow wind at you and shoot little feathers, or he will dive at you. And every time you fall off the tower you're standing on, you will have to restart the whole fight. Now something like this would be amazing to see in a Super Mario Odyssey sequel. But of course, they would have to add some extra things to it. Something they could do is create a battlefield that consists of multiple towers or smaller mountains that you have to jump between. This fits incredibly well with the whole platformer genre. And this is just the beginning. Another thing they could add is a flying section in the game itself. Just imagine the following. This gigantic condor boss tries to escape from you because it just knows that Mario is winning. However, you, the player, won't allow this. And so you capture one of the surrounding birds, allowing you to control it and chase the boss down. And while you're flying, you have to dodge all kinds of things that are thrown at you or are in the way. And once you catch up, you jump out of the bird and go into the final phase. Something like this would be similar to a linear on-rail shooter, which we have seen before in a game like Super Mario Land. Personally, I think something like this would be cool, but I think we will never see it sadly enough. Number 4. Now when you take a look at the bosses seen in Super Mario Odyssey, there's one thing that stands out. None of them are human, which is a bit weird because we do see them in kingdoms like New Donk City. And personally, I would have quite liked to see a human boss. And to be more specific, I want a pirate boss. Some sort of cannon-using, sword-wielding, hook-handed, one-legged maniac. We've only seen something like this once before in Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land for the Game Boy. Here we encounter the Brown Sugar Pirates and their leader Captain Syrup, who's a badass pirate girl that is the main villain of the game. And I would just love it if in our new journey around the world, we encounter the pirate crew that we need to take down. This would also give us a new type of water world, where we could see all kinds of new enemies and an overall different setting. And in the end, we could fight some sort of pirate captain boss. And that would go as followed. There are 2 phases. In the first portion, you capture a water enemy and use him to take down the ship's defenses. Otherwise, you can't get on the ship. And while you're trying to do so, they shoot at you with cannons, and the captain's pet sharks try to take you out as well. Now, when you finally take out the defenses, you get on the ship and fight the captain, who also calls on the crew to help every now and then. Aside from that, he uses a sword to attack, doing all kinds of fast and flashy moves, and stomping the captain is how you win. Personally, I would love to see something like this. In general, I think pirates and a world built around that idea would be cool to see in a 3D game. And especially a game like Super Mario Odyssey with its extremely open world can do this well. Number 3. Now so far we've only discussed bosses that we have never really seen before, but for our next one we will talk about a boss that we have seen before. However, the last time we saw him was quite a while ago, and he was only seen twice. But regardless of that, everyone knows him. Petey Piranha. This is a large mutant piranha plant who we first saw in Super Mario Sunshine, and then later on in New Super Mario Bros. Nowadays, he only appears in sports games and spin-offs, and also features as a playable character in several sports games. However, I want to see him in a Super Mario game again. And if we do visit Delfino Island again in an Odyssey sequel, he has to be a boss in the game. Now in the past, we've seen him do a number of different special attacks that piranha plants can't do, like spitting goop, flying using his leaf-like arms, and creating tornadoes. And while all those abilities are pretty cool, I would rather see something new if he appears in Super Mario Odyssey 2. Now, he is a plant, so they could come up with a million different attacks for him. For example, one where he puts his hands on the ground, causing loads of roots to pop out of the ground around him that will whip around violently. And this is just one idea. I bet Nintendo could come up with many more. In Luigi's Mansion 3, they created a cool boss around plants after all. They could even update Petey a bit. His design hasn't changed in ages after all. So I think if he returns in a Super Mario game, an update would be a good choice. However, since we haven't seen him in the main series for so long, I don't expect him to ever return. But hey, we at least have the spin-off games. Number 2. Now, in the Super Mario games, we have seen many types of Koopas, from simple ones like the Koopa Troopas to very strong and special ones like the Koopalings. And while all of these are fun, there's probably one that I like the most, the Hammer Bros, who have been seen in loads of games and even the first Super Mario Odyssey. They are Koopas that stand upright, throw hammers, have bigger shells than normal Koopa Troopas, and wear helmets. However, in all these years, we have never, ever seen a special type of them that functions as a boss or something. Several times they have been described as elite members of Bowser's Koopa Troop, but we never saw an extra powerful version of them in a special role or something. So in my opinion, it's about time that Nintendo did something like that. And I have an idea for them. A Super Hammer Bro that is the general or second in command of the entire Koopa Troop army. And of course he is seen in Super Mario Odyssey 2. He wants to get rid of Mario himself in order to help his master, Bowser. And he is stronger than all the other Hammer Bro types combined. So better than the Sledge Bro, Boomerang Bro, and even the amazing Flying Hammer Brother. And in order to achieve this, he wears more armor, which gives him more health, requiring at least 3 stomps to beat. And when it comes to his attacks, he has a couple of new tricks up his sleeve to surprise the player and beat him. One thing that would make him a lot stronger is bigger hammers, which he throws at you, but also smacks you with if you get too close. Aside from that, they could also add another ability that makes his hammers even stronger, allowing him to infuse them with elemental powers like fire and ice, which also leaves behind a trail that can still damage you. And aside from that, he can also throw his hammers in different ways, both in an arc and in a similar way to a boomerang. And he can do so really fast, switching between these two styles to make it all even harder. If it had attacks like this, he would already be incredibly strong and quite hard to deal with in both a 2D and 3D game. And you could even add more things to it. These are just some simple ideas of things they could do with such a boss. He's a general after all, so they could, for example, make him a lot bigger, and therefore he has the same stun ability as some of the other Hammer Bro types have. So to be honest, the options are endless. Number 1. Now for our number 1, I want to talk about a certain boss that we have seen often, but rarely in a 3D game. And when we did see it, the fight was certainly disappointing. I'm talking about Dry Bowser, the undead skeletal version of Bowser, who has only been seen in one 3D title, Super Mario 3D Land. And in most games where he was seen in, his abilities are quite similar to his normal ones. So jumping around, shooting fireballs, and throwing stuff at you. The only difference between this version and the normal Bowser is that he can handle fireballs now. Alright, I will be honest, I don't like Dry Bowser that much in Super Mario 3D Land. His tactics are quite, boring. For the most part, he just runs away from you and shoots fireballs every now and then. So I want a Dry Bowser fight that's exciting. One where he will actually do something. But I will be honest, I don't really have any ideas of what Nintendo could do with him. Sure, he can just throw bones at you, but the fight needs more. Now, one thing I could think of is that this version of Bowser uses all kinds of dark magic to attack you. In a way, it would be similar to a fight with King Boo. For example, the one seen in Luigi's Mansion 3. But Bowser wouldn't bend reality as much, of course. He turns into his undead version using dark magic after all, and even in the very first game he used those powers. So why not actually use it for a fight once? It would certainly be more interesting than what we saw in Super Mario 3D Land, but I'm not sure if we will ever get it. However, now that you know what I want, let me know in the comments what you want. And don't forget, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell button, and leave a like.